How did Bernie Madoff manage to deceive so many people for so long? Who was Bernie Madoff, and why is he considered to have run the biggest Ponzi scheme in history? Bernie Madoff, a financier by trade, confessed to transforming his wealth management business into an elaborate Ponzi scheme. This type of fraud involves using funds from new investors to pay off older ones, giving the illusion of a profitable business. Madoff's scam is widely recognized as the greatest Ponzi scheme of all time, swindling thousands of investors of billions of dollars. Madoff launched his penny stock brokerage, Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities LLC, in 1960. The firm focused on third market trading, eventually becoming one of the most significant market makers. Madoff even became the chairman of the National Association of Securities Dealers Automated Quotations, or NASDAQ, stock market. What role did Madoff's family play in his fraudulent activities? In addition to his financial exploits, Madoff was a prominent political donor, giving nearly $250,000 to federal candidates, parties, and committees between 1991 and 2009. It's noteworthy that a hefty 88% of these went to the Democrats. Madoff's business was a family affair, with his brother Peter serving as senior managing director and chief compliance officer. His niece Shana held the position of rules and compliance officer, while his sons Mark and Andrew also held roles within the company. What led to the unraveling of Madoff's Ponzi scheme? However, in December 2008, the global financial crisis hit Madoff's business hard. As investors clamored for their money back, Madoff confessed to his sons that the company was basically a giant Ponzi scheme. His sons turned him in to the FBI, leading to Madoff's arrest and subsequent confession that he had been running a fraudulent business for years, losing over $50 billion and paying investors out of the principal from other investors. What were the consequences of Madoff's actions? On the 11th of December 2008, Madoff was charged with securities fraud and later pleaded guilty to 11 federal felonies, ranging from securities fraud, wire fraud, and mail fraud, to money laundering, perjury, theft from an employee benefit plan, making false filings with the SEC, and making false statements. Madoff confessed that the fraud began in the early 1990s and that he never actually invested any of the funds received by the company. Instead, he admitted to depositing those funds in a bank account at Chase Manhattan Bank and using the money to pay requested funds when clients wished to receive their perceived profits or redeem their. In June 2009, Madoff received a sentence of 150 years in federal prison, the maximum sentence. The judge described the fraud as extraordinarily evil, unprecedented, and staggering. What is the lasting impact of Madoff's actions? While in prison, Madoff expressed his remorse, stating, "I live in a tormented state now, knowing of all the pain and suffering that I have created. I've left a legacy of shame, as some of my victims have pointed out, to my family and my grandchildren." Despite a request for compassionate release in February 2020 due to chronic failure, Madoff remained in prison until his death from natural causes on April 14, 2021. His legacy serves as a stark reminder of the devastating impact of financial fraud.